Hey guys, Dave here from Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds, hanging out with some of the colleagues.
I'm Ted.
Ryan. It's like you put a Latin flair onto that.
A little bit. And today we got a Game Master tip for you guys. Baby got backstory, and this is kind of like upending on a player tip we did where we talked about how players can introduce backstory to their characters that will help the DM create more memorable stories for them. And so going along that lines, we're going to go from a game master's perspective on this one. How to pull from your players' backstories and turn them into plot threads.
Right. So when we talk about in the other video, we talk about when, as a player, you want to create this open loop in your story so that you give the DM something that they can use. So when a player, hands you as the GM their backstory, hey, I'm this person from here, and I did this thing here, and I know these people, and this is the adventures that I've done, or the job that I do, and now I'm off to do X. You've got characters that they've interacted with that you can be able to reuse. They if they're friendly towards the player, they can be captured and the player needs to rescue them. They could be missing and need to be found. They could be killed and need to be avenged.
They could just need to borrow a cup of sugar.
Yeah, but they could also be the quest giver, like I need this thing.
They have the little exclamation mark above their head.
Yeah. I mean, like perfect example is the folk hero background, right? Like they're from a small town or hamlet or whatever village. Well, I mean, what better way to show off a folk hero than have that small hamlet be threatened by some sort of menace? Right. Because they're not much of a folk hero if they don't do that to begin with. like
something had to happen to make them a folk hero.
Wait, I already saved you once.
You're done.
Somebody else.
Well,
we need a new folk hero.
You could start it from the very beginning. Like I think the flaws of I ran afoul of someone or whatever, a tyrant or whatever. Like you could start the adventure from that thing happening. This is where you actually earn that flaw, because this is the thing that occurs, and maybe have a situation where you can't properly vanquish the person. Maybe it's because of the laws or their position or whatever. But so they have this quest where that thing happens. That you could actually do that with all your players, that they actually acquire the flaw in session.
Well, another thing too, all the players that provide you with a backstory, look at the backstory and think of ways that would actually tie into your campaign world. If there's something in there that they mention, figure out if you had that in your campaign world already. If it is, tied together, marry them. If it isn't, make it.
Right.
Make it.
If you need a thing for that player or that player's character to have existed, then make that thing. A few sentences of it, 2 or 3 sentences, and figure out all right, what's the gist of this thing? Because this character belongs to that, so I need to have a rough sketch of what that thing's going to be.
I've even seen Andrew Armstrong from DFC. They were doing a session 0 and coming up with the characters, and just based off of one of the characters, I think was an elf from a tribe that rode great cats, which was not in his world before that happened. But
now it is.
But now it is hell yeah, elves riding tigers. Why not?
I mean, and even with our session 0, you're what do you want to see in the city? Because some of that might be things that our characters are involved in. If your character needs something to for his existence in this setting to be reinforced or validated, then obviously we're going to put that in there because it's a major metropolitan area. Why not? Yeah.
Well, yeah. From the game master's perspective, every time you marry something from your player's backstory to something in your campaign world, whether it was something you've already previously created or you said, you know what, I'm giving my player agency on this, I'm going to put it in there.
It's more buy-in every single time.
It creates more buy-in, and you start accumulating enough of those from the party, from your players. What's going to happen is you're going to turn around and turn those into adventures. You're going to put the hook out there, and instantly there's at least one player that absolutely wants to do that thing.
Right.
It's the perfect bait. And
even better is when you can find ways to intermingle multiple backstories from your players
in one thread.
Then you're going to get more and more buy-in. When you start creating circumstances where your players become attached to each other, then you really do only need one person to latch on to the hook solidly, because story-wise, the other players will want to help their friend, their comrade, You know, so it really ties in nicely. You know, it's been many, many years since I've had a problem with players not taking my hooks. You know, and one of the reasons that is most of the stories I tell are always character driven. You know, if you look at any good TV show that you enjoy watching, the genre does not matter. The key element will be drama, like an interaction between those characters. That's what will hook people into the show every time.
I 100% agree with that statement.
You know, you look at shows like Star Trek, Firefly. You know, it's you know, it just happens to be in that nerdy backdrop that we enjoy and we love. But that's not really what sells the show for you and keeps you coming back.
There are shows that the genre and the actual like episodic plot is basically meaningless to me. It's like I don't really care about what's going on. I care about, you know, for that hour-long program, the 5 to 8 minutes of, you know, character interaction of what's going on with, you know, this person or that person for this particular episode.
And then a nice phaser fight is pretty cool every once in a
Well,
while.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But it humanizes the story, right? And well, most of us being human, we can relate and identify to that.
Unless you're Data.
Unless you're Data or Nate
Yeah.
with his level 12 intellect,
Yeah, that's true.
which makes him probably a little bit more than human.
A little bit. A god amongst insects.
Yes, yes, goldfish brains.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't think I have anything else on this, but there's not a lot to it. But once you get it, it really ties your game together.
Now you can look, you know, through the actual story that's there, and you can, especially with 5th edition, you can really reach into just the background choice and get a guaranteed pull of something and say, oh, you're playing a bard. Okay, well, if you're if you're playing an entertainer, then there's obviously somebody who used to, you know, watch you perform or watch you do stuff that you can just go ahead and grab right from there. So, anything else?
That's it.
So if you got anything else that you want to add, go ahead and put it in the comments below. Like, share, even subscribe.
You can check us out over on nerdarchy.com.
And hang out with us on Facebook.
So until next time, stay nerdy.